So now we studied about colors, and now we will study how we start off with a simple drawing or a simple structure of an object into a painting, and then we will study how we can use all the information that we have so far into making a complete painting of these objects that we have around. Now, once we study these objects, you can look at things around you, and these objects or the things around you would be in three basic shapes, either a cylinder or a circle or a square or a rectangle. So let's say I simply want to make this, let's say this Dettol box. Okay, this Dettol is over here. And if I want to make it into one color, let's say I will start with one color so you understand, so that there is no complications. I'm trying to draw this from my angle. So that's one. I calculate this is one, two, 1 and 2. Okay, from my angle it's 1, this is height is 1, and 2 times is the length. Whatever is less, you take that first. Now what I will be doing is, it's a little bit of a perspective study, which I also teach in my advanced lessons of painting. So this is let's say if this is 1, the height is 1. Okay, for example. So okay, just a second before I put the perspective into picture. Let me start over here. So it's 1 is the height, and I select the left or the right of this, and then this would be 1, this is 1, and this is 2. Okay, just a very simple calculation. This is 1 and this is 2 times the height, and I see that this is this area is, this is 1, 1 and 2. Okay, 3 times. So this is 1 and this is 2 times. I will check where this goes. This is 1, 1, and no, this doesn't is not right, so I will take it over here. This is 1 and I need this 2 times. This is 1 and 2. Approximately over here is my, this part of the soap is over here. Now I simply put the perspective into place. So perspective study is something we study with the drawing. That's the advanced study of perspective. How this falls into place, everything has a science, as the colors and everything that we studied. So this is simply how this object appears to me at the moment. And okay, so this one has, I'm able to see the top also. So this becomes like this, and here's the height. So this is something like, it's below my eye level. So that's how it would appear to me in real life. So this is just the first two sides of, or the first three sides of the soap that is visible. So it's below my eye level, so I see this part on top which says Dettol written over here. There is Dettol written, Dettol, and it says 3 plus 1 free whatever. The Dettol is written over here, and there is something written on top over here also which says Dettol. Now, if I were to paint this in a very simple way, now I don't want to get into complications of this object and be like hyper realistic about this, and to confuse you guys a lot. I want to simply represent this object on this paper in just three simple ways. One is light, dark, and darkest. So if I use only one color, let's say I'm using only blue, all right, and the light is coming from here. So let's say the light is coming from the left. Okay, the light, it comes from this angle. So if light is coming from here, it hits this area the first, or it hits the top area the first. If it's coming from top, it will hit the top area first, so the entire area is light, and this area becomes dark. Okay, simply just do light and dark. Okay, that's all I want you to know. It's just light and dark. and underneath the Dettol box would be the darkest area, which we don't see right now. Okay, that both the sides are a little bit darker. Now, if I were to ask you, when light is coming from here, when light is coming from this side, the top, so it's coming from this angle. Okay, this is how the light falls on this object. So it falls from top, so this area becomes white, absolutely white. It receives absolute light, and it's coming from this angle, so this receives a little bit less light than the top, and then this becomes a bit more darker. You see, it's opposite to the light, and the part underneath the Dettol box would be the darkest part. Now, it's not important to look at this box the way it is as of the moment. It's only the principle that we're trying to study. How does it appear? If this makes sense to you, then you can use it to your own advantage. If you look at the nature, it's much better you study looking at how it appears in reality. But once you understand this technique, then we look at the box in reality and we study it in reality. But to understand this is very important. If you do not understand this and try to understand the nature directly, then it might be a little bit complicated and difficult for you to know. So in a very simple way, I use this as my as my base right now. So I let it dry. For watercolor, you need to always let it dry the minute you make it. Um, our second object over here is, let's say I use this Shahi Anjeer. It's a box of an ice cream that my mom really likes. It's sugar free. It says sugar free. You see, that's the box of her, and I just borrowed it from her because it's empty. Because if it's full, she wouldn't give it to me. That's something I can't have it from her. She can give me everything else, but not her sugar free ice cream. So that's totally hers. It's her right on it. I cannot even take a spoon. So yeah, that's something yeah, about my life right now. So let's say this is red in color. We just simply take it as red. Yeah. Now this is the box. So this one. I just simply make this calculation, 1 to 1 and 1 and 30%. So this is 1 and this is the base. I can decide this as I wish, like our class yesterday. Then I take this as 1 and this is 1 over here. This is 2 and 30 is somewhere over here. So that being my topmost part, it comes a little bit down like this. Okay, just the simplest representation of this box the way it is. Now what I simply do is, it's a cylinder, and I need to use the principle of a cylinder now, which says, so the principle of a cylinder, it says if the light is coming from one side, the entire area is light, and then it becomes dark, and then the darkest. So if I have this as a cylinder, now also one more thing which is important is that I need to work according to the shape of the object. So if I say light is coming from here, so this area, entire area would be light. Okay, I leave paper white over here, and then I have a little bit dark, and then I start to increase the darkness. I'm using only red. Let's say if I wanted to make the red even more darker, then on this side I will use blue, and I will not use yellow because yellow will make it lighter. So this is red. Right now I'm just showing you some monochrome techniques of using watercolor. So you see how watercolor works is that it will start to flow, and you need to let it flow. You need to let it flow to create the effect of watercolor. You should not resist the flow of watercolor. That will be very dangerous. You can get drowned into your bowl if that happens. So not that it's not that dangerous, but yes. So you shouldn't resist the flow of watercolor. Let the water flow is a simple funda of using watercolor, and you should work only with watercolor till the time it's wet. Once it starts to get dry, you do not work with it again. You just let it dry. So this is how the shading would work, from light to dark to a little bit more darker. So that's just the first flow. Now this is called as the first flow of watercolor. You can use this technique with oil, acrylic, or any other color. You can simply mix white and then start using more red, and then by the time you come over here, it's only red hue and no white at all. So with this, you will be able to create this effect of light and dark. If you're using more colors, then you use light and then dark, and then you use cold colors mixed with warm colors to make it more darker. So quickly, to give you an example, I will quickly mix some blue just to make it a little bit more interesting. Red alone is not that interesting. So if I mix blue with red, you see how it becomes very dark on this side. So that's my I'm finished with this technique, or I'm finished with this step over here. Okay, so I leave it to dry, like I've left this one to dry. So it's light and dark and the lightest area, light, dark, and the darkest area. Now, one point that I would like to show you, which is very important, is this. So with every color, or with any painting that you have, if you have so one point of an artist or painting is to make it as simple as you can. Whatever you see, you need to make it as simple as you can and represent it to the viewer, to show him what you see. So one simple way of dividing from light to dark, so it's light, dark, 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 even a little bit more darker, darker, and the darkest. So to divide this into three shades, you can have these three shades, which is white, gray, which is the between of white and black, and the last shade is black. So any painting that you make, let it be any hyper realistic painting or any painting that you're making, you can divide that into just three shades: light, middle, and dark. Light, middle, and dark. Light, middle, and dark. So this is just for our understanding, and this is how we can make it very simple. So all the watercolor paintings that you see on my Instagram page, rave_arts, are also made with this technique of light, middle, and dark. I use only three shades. Watercolor works on in this form quite a lot, is because you use the light to dark in one shade, and then you come back to this using the darkest shade, the shadow, in the second once it's dry. You use this the darkest portion over here. In acrylic or in poster color or oil, you can simply use white as the whitest area, then you use white and the dark to make it the middle area, and then just use the dark in the darkest area. So that is how acrylic and other oil colors would work. For watercolor, it's simply light to dark, and then you use the darkest area. So you have white, middle, this is middle key, and then the darkest we will put over here after it's dry, which is this key. So you have the complete shading of it, and we will see how we work with that. So this being and this object, and let's say, where is my favorite object? It's here. It's every Indian's favorite object, I think, an onion. Things can't run in India without an onion. So India would have to stop its economy, and everybody would be. Well, the secret why India is still in a lockdown and people are peaceful is because we all have the supply of the onion. If we did not have onion, then everybody would be on the streets. So yes, onion. Let's see how I can make this. This is 1, 2, 1. I see right now. Oh, I see. I think there is somebody who does not have an onion. He's just beating up the building. But yes, so I see it's like a round. It's from my angle. If I see, this is 1 to 1. It's a round for me. And over here somewhere is the part that goes out, something. Now this is judgment. Okay, now this is somewhere on top, and this is all the lines that goes down, all the lines over here. Okay, and this is the shadow of it over here. Now very simply, this is some flakes outside. Let's say I take out this flake over here, and I just keep it somewhere over here just to have some kind of an effect of it. Okay, this is the shadow. Now if I want to color this, so I used blue, I used red. Now let's say we use yellow. We make a little combination of yellow for the onion. It's white onion, but let's say, as you can see, the light is coming from this side. I will create this effect. So as I told you guys yesterday or even today, whenever we start making the drawing with anything, again with acrylic or even with oil color, we need to capture the entire object from outside and then go inside that with pencil. And with color is also the same process. You need to find out the overall tones of this object first. So what I mean by tones is that I need to cover it overall first without worrying about the lines and how the shape. No, the shape is important for me, but without worrying about the lines or any details of the object, I would simply color the entire, use the light and the dark, the shade on the entire object first. So this is the onion. Now this is light, this is dark. Now I'm not worried about the light over here. This is the shadow of it over here. Okay, so this becomes dark. Now to make it a little bit more darker, so we understand where is the darker shade, I use a little bit of red. But that's just to show that it's the shadow area over there. And same with the top bit of it also. I leave the white over here, and this is the dark area. Okay, so the top bit is light and the dark is underneath over here. So I use red over here so that we understand that this is the dark part. You see, light, I leave the white over here, then I have a little bit of yellow, and then dark over here, and the same goes over here. You see, light, then yellow, which is a little bit darker, and then I have more of yellow mixed with red to indicate that it's the darkest area of the painting. And that's the shadow. The shadow is not something that we need to worry about because it's just a shadow. It indicates that that's where the dark portion is. So this is how we will work with the onion for now before we cook it. Okay, so now we have these three objects. We would need to wait a little bit before it's all dry and we start our detailing on this. So far we are capturing the outside. So far we are capturing just the outside of this object. We are trying to capture how it would look like overall is what we're trying to catch. What we need to remember over here is that every object, I've left the white of the paper as white where the light is falling the maximum. I have a lighter shade and I have a darker shade. I have white, then a darker shade, and the darkest shade on this side to indicate that the light is uh, traveling from light to dark. Light is traveling from light to dark. Now, if I have to consider the way I use my brush, it would be this entire area is flat, so I color it flat. This entire area is light to dark, so my brush moves from light to dark to dark to dark, and in this my brush moves like this. Okay, Please excuse me for the sound. It's just some construction work going on. So this is how my brush would move. Okay, so now let's just wait for a minute for this to be dry a little bit, and in the meantime I can show you if we were to paint on something that we made, something that I made today morning. Okay, just a second. So I hope you guys would start painting soon. So yes, so let's say if this was my onion, which is dry right now. All right, this is my onion, which is dry right now. So let's say if I had to make, so in this example, I have used two colors, blue, yellow, and blue. So which is a warm color and a dark color, warm color and cold color. So let's say this was an onion, and this was the part which was the top bit of it. Okay, so if this is light is coming from here, so this is light, and blue is the part where it indicates it's dark. So I will simply put this as dark over here. You see, light and dark. And it's simple that if the light is coming from the left, the shadow would be on the right. Just simply put the shadow over here. So now you see how this object looks three-dimensional. Three-dimensional means it has height, it has the width, and it has the depth. Depth is something that goes beyond, it goes away from you, is the depth. So height, width, and the depth creates a three-dimensional look on your object. So let's say if this was an onion, if this is an onion like this, so if you see this onion has some lines, just some simple lines like this, going from top to the bottom. All right, now if I were to make these lines on this object, I will simply see, guys, still I want you to know that our objective today is not to make something as accurate as the onion or as accurate as this Dettol soap. Our objective is only to learn the basic principle, and when we use this principle over and over again, we will start to understand how this is a true principle of nature. So if I were to make these lines on these object, I would simply go from light to dark to dark and to the darkest. So the darkest area would be over here. All right. So let me try. So when I go from here, I use very light lines. So this guy goes over here, goes down. This is here, goes down. This is here. This is here, and this is here. Okay, when it goes down, it becomes darker, it becomes darker, darker, and darker. Okay, but when it goes towards the light, it becomes lighter. The lines are very light. This is lighter, 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 and lighter. And when it goes completely towards the light, it's extremely light. All of these lines are very light over here. Okay, so it would be something like this. So all the lines on the top are lighter, all the lines at the bottom are darker, and something which is just extremely towards the bottom becomes really dark. So all the details that are in the light are lighter, and all the details in the dark are darker. So this makes it look three-dimensional. Just a simple ball with a twig on top, just to understand how light and dark works for us. So this is light. If you look at this object simply, it will your mind will first understand where is the light coming from and where is it traveling to. So if I show you a close-up of this, it simply looks like the light was coming from here and then traveling like this. It will go down, and this side is also darker. So how much darker and how much lighter is something that we do not need to worry, because we will simply follow the three rules of it, which is light, dark, and darker. The darkest indicates the maximum amount of darkness, and the lightest part indicates the maximum amount of lightness. So this being one part, let's say if I were to use this, let's say I want to write Dettol over here on this box, Dettol on the side, and Dettol, which is over here also, I want to write on the bottom of it. So how would I write this? So if I want to write, let's say, Dettol over here, I would use a very light color, just as a rule. So let's say DETTOL. Okay, Dettol, and then it says cool, cool, and then there is some kind of line. So anything that I write over here would be very light. Okay, because it's in the lighter area. Anything that I do over here would be lighter. And when I move to the little bit darker side, which is the right side of this Dettol, let's say it says 3 in 1. Okay, 3 plus 1 free, which is absolutely false, because 3 plus 1 free, whatever, any kind of lines over here, anything that you see is a little bit darker. It doesn't matter what it's written and how it's written, but just it matters, of course. But right now we're not looking at the font of it, we're not looking at anything apart from the rule itself. Okay, now this is this part, this side of the bottle, and let's say if I had to write something at the bottom, then I will be writing it as very dark, which is let's say cool. It says cool over here, COOL, cool, and there is a line. There's anything that is over here would be appearing very darker. So in a very simple way, this is how it would appear to you if there is light, dark, and darker, light, dark, and darker. And the same over here. Let's say if I had to write my name on this area, in this area, so I would simply use the color, and it's in the lighter area. So my name is Ravi, so I would write RA, which is a little bit darker, RA, and then V would be even more darker, and then I would be the darkest. Just simply what we did with pencil yesterday. So with this, it just shows you how things have moved from light to dark. Yeah, that's just the simple procession of what is light and what is dark. This is the darkest area over here, so that becomes the darkest. So now if you have to think about what we just studied before, about this three boxes, you see. So white over here, and then in between is gray, and this is the darkest portion. So if you had to study these three shades, now after completion you have all three. You have white, you have all the middle key over here, and you have the darkest key also. So this and this, all three are here, and over here and over here also. So in a very simple way, you need to have all of these three, and now we have it with us. So this completes the painting. Now, you may be wondering, how does it apply to a very detailed painting? Now, what we do is we just use the same technique, the same information with something that we see and on a very detailed level. So if you see Dettol over here, the Dettol written over here would be lighter or would be darker than Dettol written over here, because this is where the light falls first. Even if this looks lighter to you, it wouldn't be lighter, because this is more lighter, because this is where the light falls. This is our extremely important information. So with this information, we study nature. It takes quite a lot of time to make something that is detailed. If I want to paint this box as a very detailed, it would take a lot of time for me. But what I will do is I will use the same concept, I will use the same technique to paint. I will use exactly the same method, but it would be I would pay more attention to certain things, and I would pay more attention to the details of what the details are. Okay, trust, protection. Okay, all right. This is very light over here. All of this is a bit darker and a bit darker on this side. So because it's an online video, it's an online workshop, I'm not paying so much attention on details as of now. Even if you're able to capture the most basic of the form, it is enough for us, because that is our first step into painting. Let's say I will quickly want to complete this onion which is lying over here. So it was something like this. Now let's say I have some shades over here, which are very light. Okay, and then some on the dark. I will use the blue color to indicate some darker shades, one or two patches over here, just one line over here as of darkness. Okay, so in a very simple way I do this, and then I use some dark light patches over here. Now this is your study with the onion. You need to kind of make friends with him and then study it well. But what I'm doing is I'm only using the light and the dark patches. So this is the lighter patch over here. This is some lines I have going down, and there's something over here also, which is also a line. So now I'm only using some patches over here, like I see on the onion. It's some lines, and as I move on this side, it will become more darker, or at least a little bit more darker, because it's still above, so it shouldn't be very dark. Now I'm leaving the light over here. What I'm doing is I'm leaving the light, and I'm just simply putting the dark. So if I had to use the darkest shades, I would use a little bit of red, because red is the background color. So where is the onion? Okay, there are some lines over here. So simply this would be over here. Okay, some patches of light and dark that I see. Okay, when this patches go up, it will become lighter, because that's where the lighter shade is. So in this manner, we will try and work with this entire object from light to dark. This area is in the darker side, so just some parts over here, some lines over here which are lighter and then darker. Okay, so just to have a small judgment of something that is round, and this is how it would appear when it's round and it's dark on one side. So right now I don't see the details pretty much, so I'm not focusing on the details, but just some very simple lines on the onions that would appear. I would put it over here as light to dark. Now let's say it was it said Shahi Anjeer on this one, so very light, starting very light, just to, I'm not worried about the handwriting over here, just the rule is important. Shahi. Okay, just to say Shahi. Now this would be very light. I take out some colors and I add some more colors to this side of the painting, and when I come on this side it will be mixed with blue. Okay, so there we go. Now just to, this creates a three-dimensional effect. A three-dimensional effect is what we're trying to study today. This is very light. Make it as light as you can because it's in the lightest area, and also when it gets dry it becomes a little bit more lighter. Okay, so light to dark. Now if you blur your eyes, if you make your eyes smaller and blur it out, you will see that it appears to be three-dimensional. That would look like as if it's going from light to dark. So that's one more technique to blur your eyes from light to dark, to make it look appear three-dimensional. Okay, let's say if I'm writing Dettol over here. Now, this is the Dettol box. I just simply write Dettol on this side and Dettol on this side. So now, as it's blue, I just simply write very light Dettol. Okay, and if it's in the darker side, I will use more darker color and then write Dettol. See, remember our study over here right now is not about how do we write or typography. It's just about painting, and this is how it would appear in the light, and this is how it would appear in the dark. Okay, just some simple dots. So now if you look at these three objects, they would look three-dimensional to you because of the principle that we followed in painting. So this is what the information I wanted to give you guys about painting. Now I want to keep it as simple as this, as light shades into lighter area and darker shades into darker area. So with this we conclude our session today, and if you have any questions, please put them on the group, and I would like to address them on the group. I can send you guys a voice message so that everybody understands what we're doing. And I will also send you a picture of this. So to simply say how we learned about light and dark. When we get into more details, we can get into more details in our future classes. If you'd like to join, please contact me, and there would be more studies of perspective study of how things appear above eye level, below eye level, and things like this. There is quite a lot of studies that we can do with perspective, with drawing, with shading. So this was just the most basic study. This is how we start to draw, and if you want to make more details, you the more time you spend with a painting, the more details you can make on it. Right now it's just 5 minutes on each object, so it's just to indicate light and dark. So guys, thank you so much, and my Instagram page is rave underscore arts, RAVE_arts, and if you like, you can follow me on Instagram. So yeah, and over there you will see most of my paintings. Believe me, I also started like this, like how we are right now, and to making portraits, to making realistic portraits of with oil and watercolor. So if you like, you can check my Instagram page, and where most of my paintings are. And please follow me there. If you want more information about painting, please contact me on WhatsApp, where you will have the number from the group. And with this, guys, we will be connected for a long time from for now, and we will contact. We will be in contact. And so what you can do now is you can make some paintings, and once you make these paintings, you can put them on Instagram. You can put them on social media, and you can tag me there. Tag Rave on that page so that we will be connected, and you can see, or I can see more of your work. So that would be nice. So yeah, that would be good. You can contact me there. So hope you guys had a nice time. Thank you so much, guys, and have a wonderful day ahead. I will see you soon. Thank you. Have a nice time. Bye bye. सही था लक्ष्मीकांत का अगर तू बात कर सकता है तो देख सकता है वो था क्या अभी ग्रुप में हाँ ग्रुप में था हाँ लिखा था क्या बोला वो इसको शायद कुछ जो फीडबैक जैसा दे रहा था पता नहीं आर्टिस्टिक वर्ड्स मेरे को तो मालूम नहीं क्या है बात तो कर रहा था वो अच्छा मैं चैट कर रहा था कैसे से प्राइवेटली मैसेज भेजा था उसने इसमें ही लिखा भी बता ना ऐसा नहीं वैसा मिलेगा तो मैंने ठीक है स्क्रीनशॉट तो ले लिया हाँ 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 स्टार्टिंग का लास्ट का तो मैंने देखा नहीं लास्ट का दो मैसेजेस तो देखा नहीं उसने ये लिखा देखा पर नजर के लिए निकाल देता I'm not sure, however, we need to speak about realism and surrealism in art. 2D versus 3D. Wet on wet mixing techniques. Mhm. Lights, midtone, dark, explained very well. Color wheel also needs to be considered in its explanation. ये वो नहीं बोल सकते रे उसको खुद को नहीं मालूम क्या कर रहे हो. Dry brush techniques for details in painting. ये मेरे को मालूम है क्या कर रहे हैं उसको खाली बोल रहे हैं उसको पता नहीं क्या करने के लिए ये जो मैं बताया ना ये इट्स नॉट अबाउट ड्राई और वेट ऑन वेट उसको मैं बात करेगा वो बराबर बोलेगा लेकिन उसको पता नहीं वो क्या बोल रहे हैं ये मेरे को पता है और मैंने खाली ये लिया रहता था ना टमेटो तो देख अभी है ना ऑनियन दिखता नहीं है ऑनियन जैसा बट उसमें ना काफी चीजें कवर होती है बट अगर मेरे को ऑनियन ही बनाने का रहेगा ना तो आई कैन मेक एन ऑनियन आई हैव टू सिट फॉर 2 hours आई विल मेक एन ऑनियन तो बना सकते हैं मैं बट अभी देख लेकिन जो कॉन्सेप्ट समझाना उन लोगों को वो टमेटो में उन लोगों को समझ में नहीं आएगा टमेटो में खाली लाल टमाटर रहेगा फिर क्या उसमें कुछ डिटेल्स तो है नहीं ना तो वो तो फिर अंडा बनाने जैसा हो गया अगर सिंपल ही करने का था तो फिर तो मैं अंडा ले लेता था ना अंडा बनाता था तो अंडा चाहिए मेरे को आलिया चाहिए वो तुम्हारी आलिया गरम हो गया ना पूरा गीला हो गया चलेगा ठीक है बट बहुत अच्छा हो गया सेशन हेलो इधर 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 आर्या इधर इधर अरे बाप रे आरू ओए आरू सब पेरेंट्स का यही धमकी रहता है, हाँ गेम करो ना तो बोर्डिंग में डाल देंगे। ये लास्ट का सेट पूरा लंबा चला। हाँ, सही है। कैसे चलता है? हाँ हाँ, तो क्या लगा?
जब स्टार्ट हुआ ना तभी एकदम इधर था,
हाँ हाँ।
उधर से ऊपर ही जाना चाहिए।